how well. Work it out. Okay, I'll admit it. That's not how you handle it.
A young, intelligent, and confident woman named Shante Smith works hard each day and becomes a senior ad executive at a big advertising company, where she is respected by all her colleagues and leaves a lasting impression on her boss and senior management. Growing up in the ghettos of Compton, Shante had promised to make a better future for herself, has worked diligently towards this, and is proud of herself for coming through. Besides conquering the professional world, Shante also considers herself a relationship guru and has a unique philosophy about how men think and behave. Hence, Shante molded this philosophy into a few rules and uses it to guide and fix hers and her best friends, senior executive Karen, Tracy, and Deidre's love life, and basically makes sure the men in their life behave and treat them well. Trusting Shante's intuition and respecting her knowledge, the ladies hang on her every word and follow her guidance to a T. One day, Shante gets a call from Karen, who is depressed after breaking up with her boyfriend, Michael. Shante takes time to calm Karen down, then decides to leave work and visit her. Once there, the ladies discuss how Karen's boyfriend has been using her for financial gain and always finds excuses not to commit to her. Shante advises Karen to break up with Michael and reassures her that she is better off. During lunch, Shante gives Karen specific dating tips to help her when she starts seeing new people. Later, Shante talks to Tracy about her relationship with her boyfriend Dwayne, who is repeatedly unfaithful. Shante tells Tracy she should not tolerate Dwayne's cheating or make excuses for him, and encourages Tracy to hold him accountable. Afterward, Shante comforts Deidre, who is upset by her boyfriend's lack of ambition and unwillingness to work. Then, Shante stops by her successful lawyer boyfriend, Keith Fenton's office, and surprises him. There, the lawyer becomes excited upon seeing his girlfriend and clears his schedule to have some quality time with her. Then, as Shante leaves Keith's office, reminiscing about the night she met him at a bar, she runs into her arch-enemy Connie Spaulding, who works as president of marketing at a local new advertising company, and passive-aggressively greets her before speeding off to see Tracy at Dwayne's apartment. There, Shante catches the couple in a violent altercation caused by Tracy's suspicions. Unable to intervene, Shante watches in horror as Tracy breaks everything in her boyfriend's house and turns it upside down. After waiting silently until everything settles, Shante drags her friend out and takes her home. That evening, all the ladies gather at Shante's luxurious mansion and have a couple of drinks while discussing their boyfriends. As the night grows, Shante reminds her friends that she has dinner plans with Keith and encourages them to eat out without her. However, a few hours later, Shante is a little disappointed to get a message from Keith canceling their dinner date and explaining that he has to work late. Adapting to the new circumstance quickly, Shante decides to join the ladies for dinner at her favorite restaurant. There, as the group relaxes, the ladies praise Shante for all her insight into men, her accurate advices, and thank her for always being there for them. Unfortunately, moments later, to the absolute horror of Shante, the ladies spot Keith dancing with a woman and become furious at the betrayal. Upon seeing this disgrace, Shante keeps her anger in check and excuses herself to the bathroom, where she screams in frustration at Keith's betrayal and at being made to look like a fool in front of her friends, who she is afraid will undermine her after seeing that she can't keep her relationship in order. Then, being the strategist that she is, Shante calms herself down, graciously walks over to Keith and, to his utter terror, politely greets him, introduces herself to his date Julie, and politely compliments her before rejoining her friends at the table. Then, Shante calmly explains to her confused friends that Julie is just Keith's colleague and assures them that she trusts her boyfriend completely. The ladies appreciate her maturity once more, and each one secretly admires her confidence. Later, Shante and her friends return to her place and hang out some more, while Keith panickedly rushes to his friend and colleague Tony to share everything that happened and ask him for advice. The theatrical Tony calms down his terrified friend and promises to help him out after bragging that he has all the right tricks to fix the situation. Meanwhile, at Shante's house, after the ladies leave, Shante takes a moment to really process what happened and feeling like an expert with matters of the heart, decides to keep quiet and initiate a 10-day plan to gain an upper hand in her relationship with Keith and get her boyfriend in line. To this effect, she controls her urge to call him and decides to watch how the situation plays out. On day 1, following Tony's advice, Keith calls Shante at her office but fails to get a hold of her. After multiple attempts, Keith is finally put through to Shante, but is both confused and annoyed when Shante declares that she is really busy and rushes him off the phone after quickly setting up a dinner date with him. Confused, Keith shares the details of the conversation with Tony, who realizes that Shante is playing a trick on Keith to gain the upper hand in the situation. Then, after looking at the situation from multiple angles, Tony advises Keith to remain calm and explain his side of the story at dinner. In the evening, Shante arrives 15 minutes late, hoping to make Keith nervous. Then, to Keith's surprise, Shante shows up with a calm and pleasant demeanor, which throws Keith off and makes him more nervous. Then, as soon as Keith finishes explaining that Julie is just his co-worker, Shante calmly assures Keith that he didn't do anything wrong before telling him that she wants a break from the relationship, reasoning that she wants to explore her options. Before Keith can process the breakup, Shante thanks him for everything and leaves. Later, after hearing the turn of events and recognizing the tactics, Tony once again comforts Keith and promises to guide him through the situation. On day 2, while Keith squirms thinking about Shante and regretting everything, Shante goes shopping and has fun with her best friends. On day 3, Keith calls Shante, who strategically maintains radio silence and tries to get her to talk to him, to no avail. On day 4, Shante continues her plan, goes to church, and after making sure Keith's friends are watching, gets too friendly with one of the members, hoping that Keith would hear all about it. This works like a charm, gets to Keith, and afraid he's losing her for good, Keith calls her all day, but she ignores all of it and continues with the radio silence. Then, Shante gives an impressive presentation at work and is made a partner at the company, while Keith mops around his apartment the whole day. Worried for his friend, Tony leaves work early to check on him, and after seeing Keith in so much pain, Tony decides to devise a plan to turn all the frustration on Shante and free Keith. Later that evening, following Tony's plan, Keith boldly shows up at Shante's apartment and catches her by surprise. He then confidently walks in and tries to seduce the angry Shante, but fails. Unfazed by this, Keith starts a random argument that catches Shante by surprise and triggers all the anger she was suppressing. By the end of the night, Keith leaves Shante's apartment feeling lighter after having successfully transferred all his frustration to her. Hence, day 5 is rough on Shante, who spends time processing everything while still trying to stick to her plan. On day 6, in hopes of keeping busy, Shante goes on multiple meaningless dates, despite being unimpressed by any of them, while on the other side of town, Keith goes out dancing with Tony and Connie, who boldly flirts with him. On day 7, Shante spends some time with her friends at the mall. There, Karen excitedly announces that after successfully executing Shante's 10-day plan on Michael, he had proposed to her the night before. The ladies are all happy for Karen and congratulate her wholeheartedly. Later, Shante buys a few clothes, gets her hair and nails done, and prepares to surprise Keith by going to his apartment unannounced, with the excuse of returning his stuff. There, Keith is pleasantly surprised to see Shante, invites her in, and the two start getting intimate. However, a few minutes later, despite Keith's plea for her to stay, Shante stops everything and rushes out of the apartment without offering any explanation. This encounter works like a charm, as Shante knew it would, and ends up completely flipping the tables in Shante's favor. On day 8, Keith starts wondering if he is wasting his time following Tony's wild advices, and considers to just maturely apologize to Shante and mend the relationship. However, Tony argues against this profusely and begs his friend to stick to the game plan, which he believes will free all men in similar situations if executed well. On the other side of town, Shante and the girls meet up for lunch and discuss Karen's engagement and how effective the 10-day plan is. Then, finishing with the tough part of the plan, hoping that Keith will now come to his senses and all her relationship issues will be resolved, Shante goes grocery shopping and prepares to host Keith. However, Shante's weekend plans are changed when her boss calls a last-minute meeting after hearing that the new advertising company is throwing a pool party to attract clients. At the meeting, it is decided that the partners should attend this party in order to stay ahead of the game. So Shante invites her friends to keep her company and help her take note of the event, and the group meets there. Meanwhile, despite Connie's invitation to be her date, Keith is tired of playing games with Shante and proceeds to politely decline until persuaded to change his mind by Tony, who encourages him to beat Shante at her own game once and for all. So the day of the party, Keith shows up with Connie, acts completely aloof, and completely ignores Shante. When Shante sees Keith with her arch enemy on the day she expected to make up with him, she becomes scared, sensing that her plan might have backfired, and approaches him. To her surprise, Keith blatantly informs her that he is exploring his options, as she suggested, and underlines that he is moving on. Desperate to get a grip of the situation, Shante tries to pull Connie aside and talk to her, but fails as Connie gets defensive and shuts down. To make matters worse, Keith starts dancing with Connie in front of everyone, including the outraged friends of Shante, who threaten to beat him up. Shante remains calm, begs her friends not to get involved, uses this pressure to devise a plan to make Keith jealous, and sneaks out of the party in hopes of meeting someone. After using her ingenious tactics, Shante returns a few minutes later with a man named Calvin and pretends to get to know him while Keith watches from afar. After a couple of hours, under the pretense of connecting with Calvin better, Shante takes her new date to an isolated, quiet corner to talk to him, which infuriates Keith and even concerns Tony, as he fears that Shante may be successfully moving on. Then, unable to entertain this possibility, Keith swallows his pride, approaches Shante, and confronts her. To make matters worse, Shante strategically insinuates that she's planning to spend the night with Calvin and pushes Keith over the edge. Moments later, Shante proceeds to leave the party with Calvin, which forces Keith to approach her one last time and threatens that if she leaves with Calvin, he will sleep with Connie. Hoping he is just bluffing, Shante feigns not caring and leaves with Calvin, hoping Keith will cave and come after her. As she drives away from the party, Shante tells herself that Keith will wait for her at her house to apologize and end the nightmare. Later that night, Shante gets home and is disappointed to find no one waiting. After optimistically waiting for a while, Shante accepts defeat and breaks down. It all hits her at that moment that she may have gone too far and lost the love of her life for good. Feeling depressed, Shante goes to a bar to drink her sorrows away and is delighted to see Keith sulking alone in the corner. Shante gathers her courage and goes over to apologize to Keith for everything she put him through and for trying to control him with a senseless game, before asking him for a dance. Keith and Shante dance together and mend their relationship.
And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our video. Watch the next recaps on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.